Hello and welcome to the Creative Connection podcast. I am your host, Cyndi Thomsen, and I have truly loved the conversations that I have been having over the last several weeks, beginning with finding and reclaiming your voice, moving on to reigniting your glow, and moving forward, how to make choices to live your best life. Today, we are exploring what happens when your body becomes the messenger and how listening can help you make choices, find your voice, move forward. My guest today is Janet Doerr, a medical intuitive, Ascension guide, and a master energy healer. Janet uses her multidimensional gifts of perception, deep connection with the company of heaven, and masterful use of a wide range of healing techniques to provide transformative results for her clients. People who work with Janet report rapid shifts in health conditions, regaining a peaceful state, improvements in relationships, and feeling empowerment. Janet has supported over 1,850 individual clients from 43 countries. Welcome, Janet. I am excited about our conversation today. You and I have had a couple conversations about what it means when our body starts to tell us something and whether we should listen or continue to do. And I thought we would start there because I was compelled by your story of waking up to your body and what it was trying to tell you. So perhaps we could start there.
Thank you. I'm happy to share. So, my story was I was in very traditional roles in corporations for many, many years, decade, more than more than one decade. And then my soul woke me up with a health experience, and I also found myself feeling out of alignment with the work that I was doing and the organization around me. And so that set me on a journey. I left my corporate life. And I also then, shortly thereafter, became aware, the aha moment, the awakening, the opening. Wait a minute. I'm a divine being in a human body having a human experience, not what I had thought of myself most of my life is, oh, I'm Janet Doerr, I'm a human being. So, of course, we are humans having a human experience. But the big aha was, oh, I'm a divine being of light. And as that started opening for me, then I started becoming aware of things. My intuition expanded rapidly. I started receiving messages and knowing and awareness that I had not previously tapped into because my field, my energy body had expanded and my awareness had dropped out of the left brain, all the stuff we had to do in corporate finance system and process and quarterly goals and all of that, to dropping into my heart and being still and quiet and listening.
So I'm curious because I too have had an experience where all of a sudden it was like, what am I doing? What is, for me, I worked in a corporate job. I took a vacation, and on that vacation, I find myself incapable of walking. And I had to really stop and go, what is happening? And it too began a journey of awakening for me. But I'm curious for you because we all experience awakening or opening to our guides and our soul differently. So what was the moment for you? Like me, I was on a path in Central Park and I found myself incapable of moving because there was so much pain and it felt like somebody had cut my legs off. How about for you? What had happened for you?
Well, my wake up, my body got my attention to the out of alignment when I was about 52. And I started experiencing tremendous pain in my hips. Got diagnosed with osteoarthritis in both hips and staved off the pain for a couple years using an over-counter NSAID, which I later realized had completely trashed my liver. Not a great plan. And I did get a total hip replacement on my left hip at the very young age of 54. Like, that's kind of crazy. Um, and at the time, I was told that my right hip, per the x rays, was actually in worse shape, less cartilage, bone on bone. And they said, well, the surgeon said, where do you want to start? And I said, the left one, because it hurts more. So I'd gone through my total hip replacement. I was still at corporate. Things changed in the corporation. And then I started noticing this isn't exciting me anymore. I'm not feeling the joy that I had felt in previous assignments. So we parted, and then that gave me a whole lot of quiet time. And I said, well, I'll use this quiet time to get more healthy. And I was thinking, get more healthy before I have a second hip replacement. But then 5 or 6 months into the get more healthy, I went, wait a minute, I can heal myself. Oh, that aha moment. So then I said, okay, new path. I'm not preparing for surgery. I'm choosing to completely regenerate my body and youthen instead of age, and clear up my memory and heal my right hip. So that was my journey. And in that awareness of more of the truth and the power of us as creator beings, then I really was starting to tap into the unseen realms. I was hearing from angels. We were having conversations. And my pattern had been, um, all through my life, that I'm an extrovert, I'm an expresser, I like to, experience and share. And what happened was I stopped doing that. I stopped sharing because I thought, well, my husband would look at me cross-eyed. When I first started sharing what I was experiencing, he wasn't having the same awareness or experience. And, he might have been wondering, is my wife just going off the deep end? What's happening here? And so what happened was I thought, I'm not being received. I'm not being heard. We can't discuss what I'm sharing because it's a foreign language, and was triggering to my husband. I could see that he was uncomfortable with what I would share. So I stopped sharing. So what was the result of that? So energy always wants to rise. So when our Kundalini is rising up our spine and through our body, it's coming up from the hips. It goes through our sacral center, our center of creativity and passion, comes through our solar plex, power, through our heart, and added to with love, comes up to be expressed through the throat chakra. And the energy would rise, and I'd say, I should share this. I feel like sharing that. And then I'd think, oh no, this will not be received. And so what I'd do is I'd shove that energy back down in my body. I'd stop myself. Instead of my natural inclination, I shut down. Well, the consequence of shutting my energy down, shutting down my natural, authentic tendency to love to share and not do that, resulted in me then having physical symptoms, which was chronic fatigue. I wasn't letting the energy move. I was pushing all of the energy that was trying to rise back down inside. Don't say that. Don't say anything. And I went silent for months, and chronic fatigue. And then I got to the point where I went, this isn't working. I have to allow myself. See, I've still got emotion coming up even now. I have to allow myself to be myself. And so I did. And so I did. And so I took the risk to start sharing my very unusual perception of what I was getting, conversations with the higher realms, awareness about things in the outer environment. Um, that was hard, and I can still tap into, as I am now. I can still tap into how challenging that was emotionally for me to take that risk. So I know you're a storyteller. Your audience, wants to share stories. And if there's emotion to the story, one of the powerful ways to to be in storytelling is to allow yourself, as I just did, if there is emotion attached to it, feel it, demonstrate it. Just be yourself. Let it come out, because in so doing, I can ask those who are listening, Do you feel a stronger connection with me in this moment after I shared versus if I'd just done it, well, this stuff happened and this is how I related to it. And then I just started to share, right? So when we allow ourselves to really communicate authentically, all of our bodies, not just our thoughts, not just what we're thinking, but from the heart, including what we're feeling, then we create these deep heart to heart connections with people that are at a level far deeper than if we keep it from here up. Just put on the talking head, put on the
Mm.
makeup, and only share from here up, as opposed to getting down into the body and feeling what wishes to arise.
Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your heart and your vulnerability. What I have discovered as a storyteller and as a coach who helps others share their story, that when we push it down, not only does our bodies start to react to that, but our people around us start to respond to that, and it impacts our relationships and it impacts our potential. I think about, why I, first of all, named my business Creating a Passionate Life, and then why I named this podcast The Creative Connection is because I believe that we all are a creative being. And a part of that creative being is what we're able to share about ourselves with the world. And it's our story. And women in particular, and it's interesting, Janet, because my hip issues and my hip replacement happened at the same time yours did. And mine was and this probably happened for you, or maybe it's happened for someone else. That pain that my body started to express actually opened a floodgate of stories that I had shut down and did not tell anyone. And it began a journey for me of moving from pain to purpose, and about how important our stories are. And in the process of doing so, it opened me up to not only my soul, but other people's souls, and to be able to connect to another person. And I discovered, because I'm also a theater director, that the stories that I was sharing changed. It was, yes, I was sharing about family and I was sharing about love, but I was sharing about all kinds of love and all kinds of family. And when I would have a cast that was not used to finding themselves so vulnerable, that we are heading towards the finale of a show and they're just bawling in the rehearsal process, and I have them stop and go, okay, what are you experiencing right now? And how can you move from that to something else? And for me, and then I have a question after I get to the end of this, but for me, what I discovered is that the people that I was directing in my little teeny community theater, I was a conduit for a shift and a transformation for them. Next thing I knew, I had people packing up and moving to where they believed they needed to go, or changing jobs, or doing something that they had always wanted to do, but never had the guts to do it, because we were able to tap into what had been stuffed down for so long. So my question for you, my rich question for you, is when you're working with someone else that's sitting in front of you and you can see that there's something that needs to get released, unstuck, what are some signs of that? I'm thinking about the listener that might be there going, yeah, I'm stuck, but I'm not so sure it's that I'm stuffing things down. I just don't know what it is. What are some signs? Well, you and I each experienced hip issues. For some, it's hip. For others, it's something else. What are some signs that we can be aware of to begin a journey?
Well, it can manifest out of alignment, really, where we're not fully embodying our presence, our God self, speaking our authentic truth, uncluttered from the the baggage that we accumulate in life, and quite frankly, from all lifetimes, and ancestral
Mm.
energies that we're unpacking all of that. So it I'd like to reassure people if they say, I can't believe that all of a sudden I've had this and this and this and this health issues in 2 years. I used to be healthy all my life. I no longer feel vital and vibrant. I've got pain. I've got this relationships. 3 people have died in the last 2 years, and things shifted at work and blah, blah, blah. And they're going, this is a lot. And it is a tremendous amount. And we're all having, with the amount of extra light coming in, whether or not people have deeply connected yet to their soul, all this light coming in is illuminating. It's vibrating
Wow.
all of this stuff in our life where we're not in rock solid alignment with our presence embodied. And it all just starts to rise. So the health issues get our attention, and relationships um, that were okay, but maybe shallow, or okay, but had submerged conflict or unhappiness in them,
Mm.
or jobs that don't feel, where you don't wake up to go off to work going, I'm so grateful I get to go do this today. Anything less than that, you're probably misaligned with what you're doing in your career. So it's not uncommon for people to find they no longer resonate with a whole bunch of stuff in their life. I went through my closet and I started going, I'm not going to wear this again, all the suits from corporate life. I'm not going to wear this again. I'm not going to wear those dark colors. I'm not going to wear this. And I created in this bare bedroom mountain of perfectly good clothes, wool suits, silk blouses, all kinds of stuff that is just like, no, that's not aligned with me anymore. And so, then I found a place to go donate those to people who could use them for interviews, who didn't have, what they needed to go off and re-enter the workforce, for example. Um, we start finding in personal relationships, I've found, well, I should say I went not only silent for quite a while, I went within in hibernation and became, the lone soul. Rarely left my home except for to go to the grocery store or the supplement store, which was always a favorite, the natural food store. Um, and after 2 years of that, I went, I really need some sister contact. So I said to the universe,
Mm.
what would it take for me to be able to once again reconnect with women entrepreneurs, people that are running businesses from home? And soon thereafter, the answer to my prayer was provided. And I received an invitation, met a woman at a farmer's market who said, Hey, I just thought of you. And would you like to join me at this lunch? I think you'd enjoy these people. So you start recreating
Mm.
as the creator beings we are when you say, oh, what would I love to experience? So as soon as I asked, okay, I'm ready now. Hibernation is over. I need some, contact with people again. Please bring that to me. And then I found myself at a luncheon. And when I introduced myself and had the courage to say, and I talk to angels, that two other people came up to me and said, gee, I work with those same angels you do. And then it was
Mm.
great that, yes, there were people in the luncheon that were in very traditional roles, real estate and insurance and so forth. And then there were these, very already popped open people also talking to angels that also were present. So I got my connections in, and I got the authentic level of communication that I was seeking, that
Mm.
heart to heart. Can we be real with each other? Not talk the weather. Did you hear that this is going on? How many new clients did you sign? Just the business level. So, yeah.
So that sparked which is what usually happens, that sparked a question for me. So we have our body telling us we become, I think you shared with me in a previous conversation, we become dis-eased We become unconnected to our ease of who we are. So our body begins to tell us something. It's a warning about health, or maybe it's a relationship that shifts. And then there's the asking the universe or just speaking what we want. But I think there's a step in between that I think you and I may have both experienced, but others don't know how to get that step in between, which is how do we go from being all discombobulated, unaligned, at ease with ourselves to being able to ask that question? There's this in between part where we actually have to stop. And I think for you, you said hibernate. I think I did the same thing during that time. I cut myself off from some things that I thought I enjoyed, but was able to see that I needed to really let them go, much like your wardrobe, let it go. I have discovered when working with people that we become so tight gripped on the things that we think or that our world around us tells us we're supposed to do, or we're supposed to hold on to, that it's really hard to unclench those fists and let go. That in between step, that letting go. How do we become aware of our unease, move to let go so that we can then begin to open, which is that awakening process, I believe. How do we do that?
Well, most importantly, it's to put our hands over our heart, breathe, breathe in into the body, breathe in under the heart, bring the light in, bring our awareness down from up in the mental body. So if you find yourself saying, I need to figure this out, you're off track. Drop down. It's almost like take an elevator ride down through your body and get off at the door in the elevator, which shows the heart sign. And when that door opens, then sit in your heart space and just listen. What am I feeling?
Mhm.
Is there some sadness?
Mhm.
Is there some frustration? Is there some irritation? Am I going over memories of interactions with people that were not harmonious? Am I trash talking myself? Am I being hard on myself? Where am I not loving myself for exactly where I am and full allowance to my experience, which may be very different than the experience one was having 2 years prior? So being willing to listen to ourselves. It's like invite a friend over for a cup of tea and you ask them a question, how are you doing? And you would sit quietly and wait until they spoke and responded. We need to do the same thing with ourselves. Sit and say, how am I doing in here? What am I feeling? Oh, there's sadness. And instead of going, I don't want to feel that, I don't want to cry again. It's like, well, if there's sadness energy that wants to arise, the best thing you can do is allow it. So, one of the things to navigate this in between, oh, suddenly life is changing. I'm in that hibernating state, and things are starting to arise, is be patient with yourself, be compassionate with yourself, and be willing to feel everything because everything needs to be felt in order to bring it, let it arise. You feel it as it comes up. What does sadness feel? Sad. Grief feels, racking sadness, terror, anxiety, fear. The body shakes. That's energy. And yes, you've collected it from many experiences. And so as the energy starts to arise, you may have a tendency to say, oh, this sadness is about that. This grief is because 3 of my precious animal companions all passed away within 6 months or 9 months. Um, Actually, no. The reason that that grief you're experiencing is so raw, so powerful, so expanded is you're releasing all of the grief energy you stuffed and stored from this timeline and all other timelines. So when you say, I don't understand what's happening, okay, I get it. So and so died, or my cat died. But why is this what I'm feeling so pronounced? Why is it so big? Why is it so huge? To recognize that you're feeling the energy, it was triggered by that one animal companion passing away, that one dear other soul passing away and going on to the non physical. But that's allowing you to now get in touch with and let all of the grief energy that you've experienced across all timelines
Mm,
that you did not finish, that you did not complete. And how do we complete things? We allow it to arise, bring our presence in, and sit and observe ourselves experiencing grief, or observe ourselves releasing sadness, or observe ourselves um, being angry. So a connection to the physical body. Many of my clients will say, I've got all this weight on and it doesn't seem to go off. How do I lose this weight? And I said, well, let's go look at your liver, because invariably the liver's main responsibilities, it's such a potent organ, um, burn fat, detox our bodies, and produce a whole bunch of hormones. So it's powerful. It's very important. And if it's congested, the liver is where we store anger. So if it's
mm,
congested with anger that you have not allowed yourself to complete from this and every timeline, then your liver is congested and it won't work very well. So it doesn't burn off the fat very well. And your body is toxic and it's not doing a great job of helping you detox. So to go to the liver and say, what am I still angry about? Who am I still angry about? What situations, experiences, interactions in my life am I still carrying anger about that? And get honest with yourself. Write it down. Their names and, oh, this moment, that moment, that moment. And then to use light, which is why we call people that work with energy light workers. You can bring in that
mhm,
color of violet flame, which has powerful transmutational effects. And it basically dissolves energy that is not love back into love. So you're noticing, oh, I'm triggered lately. I'm angry. I'm irritable. I get on the highway and somebody cuts me off, and this explosion of, energy arises, and I'm almost tempted to gesture or yell or honk or something. But I, I stop myself and say, no, I can breathe and allow the energy to move without spewing it on someone. And that is the necessary process to get at that anger and release it, to clear the liver, let the liver now function better. And now the weight starts to come off. And now you're detoxing more effectively. So when a person says, I'm not an angry person, no, you're not. You're releasing anger. You're not becoming angry. This is
mm.
old energy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. In fact, so, I mentioned the name of my business, and I mentioned the name of the podcast. So when I created my business, which is creating a passionate life, it was about allowing ourselves to create the life that we are passionate about living. And one of the steps you just mentioned, it is recognizing what is happening. It is, first of all, understanding that it is not the core essence of you. It's the things that have circled around you and you have grabbed onto and you need to release. And it's being in care of your body and your spirit by recognizing, today I'm sad. I want to look at this sadness and allow it to happen. And I want it to be a doorway for a shift. And so I thank you so much for sharing what you just did, because I believe that that is a step that we try to, at least in our society, we try to leapfrog over and not confront, because emotions are hard. Um, Grief is hard. Um, Sadness is hard, but here's the truth. And the truth is we can have more joy and abundance if we allow the other to happen. If we allow the sadness and the grief to come up and to process, then we are opening the doorway to greater abundance and greater joy, because light is important. And to get to the light, you have to get past. And you have to get past by dealing with and addressing what's happening. So, as we near the end of our time, Janet, I'm curious if there's a simple practice or something, a daily wisdom technique that you yourself do when maybe an emotion comes up. For myself, I have a practice, which is if I'm starting to feel something, it's to stop, which you mentioned, is to take a couple of calm breaths, is to put both of my feet as close to the ground as possible, to straighten my spine, and to close my eyes and sit with what's happening. And then to, if it's towards a person, it's to write about it, to journal about it, to process. It's not to try and put a band-aid on it. And it's not about trying to correct something that's happened in the past. It's about owning what I'm feeling right now. So, what is a technique? Maybe it's similar to what I just mentioned, but what's a technique that someone who's listening might go, "Oh, but what do I do with this?"
So that putting one's hand on one's heart and saying, it's just energy. And what
Mm.
I'm feeling and uncomfortable with, the reason that it didn't get released before was because you were uncomfortable feeling the energy before. And so it's like, oh no, I don't want to feel angry. Oh no, I'm afraid to start feeling the grief of this person or this beautiful being leaving my life because I'm afraid I'm going to dive in that well and never come out. The truth is that all that energy will wait for you. So until you're ready, and then it will arise. So to put your hand over your heart, I always, as you're describing, I put myself in my column of light, connect from above, see like a column, a pillar of light, go all the way down through my feet to below to the earth, ground magnetically to the earth, feel putting my magnets and connecting to the earth and breathe into the body. All of that calms one down because then we're not just up here going, oh, no, 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 I'm overthinking and I don't want to feel this. It gets you down in your body, all the way grounded to the earth. Very, very helpful if you're really emotional to go outside barefoot on the ground, on
Oh,
the grass, on stone. I live and I'm barefoot and have an earthing pad underneath my feet that connects to the ground outlet in the wall socket of my house. So I keep myself grounded energetically to better keep me connected to the earth's energy, which you'll notice that it doesn't look
oh,
like any part of nature is emoting, screaming, disturbed. It's harmonious, it's peaceful. So going out and being in nature helps you attune. Nature helps you say, this is how to be. And then you can open up, expand, and feel more peaceful, more calm while you breathe. And as you're bringing in more light, more of the love that you are, more of your divinity, to recognize all I'm doing here is feeling energy. It's just old energy. It's
oh.
just old grief, old anger, and it just wants to arise and let it go. And then if it's a lot of energy, I'm almost always blazing the violet flame. So imagine that beautiful, rich violet color, not so much just purple, but violet, which has got juicy pinks in it. And imagine yourself standing in a bonfire of violet flame that rises up all the way from below your feet, all the way above you, and it's going through your physical body and it's going through all that emotional energy and it's going through the thoughts that are arising where you hear yourself trash talking yourself and you go, whoa, I don't think that about myself. You don't actually, you love yourself. What is arising is an old thought that got in there somewhere. Maybe somebody said something unkind, you took it in, and now you're your own abuser and you're the one who's criticizing yourself. And all of that criticism is holding in a great volume of sadness. So as the sadness arises, you may hear the thoughts that held that sadness in place. Don't attach to them. Don't worry about them. Just notice them and allow them to arise and go, woof, sure glad I'm not thinking like about myself that way anymore. Oh, that's the thought that trapped all this sadness. And then when you're done with the emoting, then go do something that nourishes your body, that helps you feel good. Eat a piece of fresh fruit, luscious fresh fruit, or go stand outside, move your body a bit, go soak in some Epsom salts with Himalayan salts or some, sea salt in there as well. Recharge your body with the minerals that it requires and be gentle with yourself because after a big release, I always would say, well, that was a good cry. Well, that's exactly what it was. It was good and it was a big cry. And if you sobbed and sobbed and sobbed for an hour, there's nothing wrong with you. You're doing fantastic work for yourself. Allow it to come up and then be gentle with yourself for a period of time. And then notice the next day how much lighter you feel, how much space you've created because all of that dense energy was weighing you down. And so to feel more alignment with the joy that you are, the love that you are, the compassion that's your true nature, your peacefulness, your harmony, the natural ways that you wish to be and embody and to receive in communication with others, you can usually attune to that far better the day after you've had a big emotional time. So to be gentle,
Mhm.
allow yourself, accept what's happening. No, it's not you. It's not your divine self. It's old energy simply arising and let it come up. And as you describe, some people like to journal. But if you're journaling, don't try to analyze it and say, oh, this happened because then you're kind of locking it back in because your mind is saying, I don't understand all this energy. I need to figure this out.
Mhm.
And so you're analyzing, you're actually going to slow the time that otherwise this energy arises and boom, it can be gone. Next day, feel
Mhm.
fabulous. So be gentle with yourself during the process.
Quite often I tell those that are journalers, it's, "I just wanna journal about this." I'll say, "Great, but you can't read it for 6 months." You have to just the journaling is just to get it out. It is not for you to fix. And in fact, maybe months from now, you don't want to read it. You just want to burn it. And you know what? That's okay because it can go up into ashes. And I use the image of a phoenix quite often is sometimes something has to go back to the ashes in order to be reborn and to grow again. And I think that's a process that we go through daily as individuals. And some of us, when we have ignored the healing process, we'll have a big outburst of something. Something will trigger us, and all of a sudden it's just it keeps coming and it keeps coming and it keeps coming. And the best thing to do is to allow it to keep coming so that it can get out and it will feel like you've completely disintegrated yourself. You'll be tired because you've released a lot, but know that that's the step to rising from the ashes of what we've processed. So, yeah. Well, Janet, thank you so much for sharing. We've covered, our bodies talking, we've talked about, becoming vulnerable for ourselves. And sometimes that vulnerability comes out and it is kind of scary to those around us and about how what happens when we try and not share that and we stuff it down and then opening the door to become closer to who we are intended to be by allowing that to come out and to allow us to process what's happened presently, but is tied probably to things that have gone on before the present moment. and that all of this is a step towards transforming and up leveling ourselves to the next thing that is what is a part of our path, our journey, our soul's purpose in this plane. There will probably be another, and there will be another, but in this plane, our so, Janet, how can our audience connect with you? What might be a next step that you have to offer for them?
Thank you. I prepared a gift, and it's called 5 Steps to Transform Your Energy, Transform Your Health. That speaks to all the juicy stuff we described here and gives you an anchor so that when energy's arising, you can go, oh, I can just use Janet's 5 steps. And so you'll have it in an email. So in the show notes down below or the description of our conversation, you'll be able to find the link. Just click on it, put in your name and an email address so that I know where to deliver these tips to. And then that's giving you an opportunity to then hear from me where I might be speaking next, what suggestions I'm offering people in terms of how to navigate this ascension process and navigate these times. So that would be my suggestion as to the best way to contact me. You'll find me on Facebook if you're a Facebook user, and I've got a YouTube channel as well. Lots of ways to learn more from me.
Thank you so much, Janet, for taking time to have a conversation today about our body speaking and all the things that happen after our body starts to tell us with the presentation of dis-ease, whether it be pain in your body or health issues or a relationship seeming to go haywire. It takes a moment to find ourselves in that space and willing to face it sometimes. That is part of the reason that I created the Rooted in You circle experience. Is a circle of 12 women who spend 6 weeks pausing, listening, reflecting, and learning how to move forward from what might be holding us back, whether it be pain of spirit, pain of body, pain of mind. The Rooted in You circle experience is one that I offer 4 times a year. My winter circle starts on January 3rd. And I don't know, I got a little crazy when a friend said, how much is it this time? And normally I charge anywhere between $297 to $497 for the Rooted in You experience. However, I decided with the holidays coming and the craziness that's happening in our world, I want it to be accessible for as many people as can. So I am right now offering the Rooted in You 6-week experience, which includes a weekly gathering of the 12 women, 2 one-on-one conversations with me, and as long as you register by the end of November, 2 bonus one-on-one coaching sessions with me for $97. Oh my goodness. So if you have found yourself in a situation much like what we described today, what Janet and I talked about, where we are starting to experience dis-ease of our personness, our body or our mind or our spirit, the Rooted in You experience is for you. You will find the link for more information and to reserve one of your spots. I only have 12 seats for this experience in the show notes as well. And if the timing is wrong for you at this point in time or doesn't feel like the right thing, remember you have Janet's free offering of some items as well. I look forward to seeing you next week where it will just be me and a week of gratitude. It is Thanksgiving next week. I will actually go live on Wednesday rather than Friday, and we're going to talk about gratitude. It is Thanksgiving, and is gratitude just for someone else or is it for you? Great question, right? And then in 2 weeks, I am joined by another Janet. This will be my third Janet. And we will be talking more about energy and this idea of energy and intuition and how we can expand our own intuition and look at our own energy so that we feel more empowered. What a great wrapping up of our conversations over the last almost 8 weeks about finding and reclaiming our voice as we head into the new year and we start to ignite the vision for next year. If you are interested in Rooted in You Circle, check the show notes. If you want to find out more about what Janet has to offer, check the show notes. And I will see you next Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, for a special podcast all around the idea of gratitude and gratefulness. Until then, have a fabulous, fabulous